Annual requirements. IRS and EPLS overview. There are 2 annual reviews of program partners that must occur every year according to USDA regulations: the IRS review of tax-exempt status and the excluded parties list review. These 2 reviews are similar in that they are performed annually, but otherwise are distinct and separate processes. Agencies must perform an annual review of current tax-exempt status for their active USDA food distribution sites. This is required for organizations that distribute USDA food on behalf of an agency using their own site, staff, and volunteers. This does not apply to sites where agency staff or volunteers are on-site and oversee distributions. This review of tax-exempt status is completed in the IRS online system. Agencies must also perform an annual review of the excluded parties list system for any businesses from which they purchase $25,000 or more in services or supplies using USDA funds. This review of suspended and disbarred vendors is completed in the online excluded parties list system. IRS review. CSFP and TFAP regulations state that distribution of household commodities on behalf of an agency must take place at distribution site locations that have tax-exempt status. These organizations must maintain tax-exempt status to be eligible to take part in USDA food programs. Sites where the agency have trained staff and/or volunteers present during the distribution fall under the agency's tax-exempt status, so no additional review of current tax-exempt status is necessary since the site is only used as the location of the distribution. Agency personnel are in charge of managing program paperwork and distribution of USDA food. Agencies must verify tax-exempt status on an annual basis for eligible sites where the agency does not have trained staff or volunteers present. Agencies can access the online system at www.apps.irs.gov/app/EOS. If the site appears on the IRS list. If a site appears on the IRS Automatic Revocation of Tax Exemption list, the agency must notify site operations staff that they have 30 days to either provide documentation that they have applied for reinstatement of tax-exempt status with the IRS, or confirm with the agency that they no longer have or plan to apply for tax-exempt status. This choice will mean that they may no longer distribute USDA foods. The agency may also make arrangements with the site to oversee distributions using the agency's tax-exempt status. Documentation of IRS status. TFAP and CSFP agencies must search the irs.gov website each fiscal year and document the results. USDA requires annual verification that distribution sites that receive federal funds and/or food have current tax-exempt status. Agencies are to review tax-exempt status. An interoffice memo can be used to document results. Completed and dated agency memos are to be submitted in MEGS Plus. Only the memo is needed. All other documentation, such as search results or other documentation from agencies, is to be kept at the agency. Save all documentation for 3 years plus the current year. Excluded Parties List System, EPLS. The Excluded Parties List System, EPLS, is a federal requirement to ensure that any vendor or contractor who is being paid $25,000 or more of CSFP or TFAP funds has not been debarred from doing business with the federal government. A data search must be conducted annually for all vendors receiving $25,000 in administrative funds for TFAP and CSFP. Agencies are to use the online System for Awards Management, SAM, found at www.sam.gov to review the status of vendors. EPLS Documentation Checklist. Verify that vendors are in good standing for them to receive government funds. Completed and dated memo are to be submitted in MEGS Plus. All other documentation, such as search results or other information, is to be kept at the agency. A sample memo is available from MDE. Save all documentation for 3 years plus the current year. MEGS Plus, MIND, and GEMS Mars CSFP, and TFAP. MDE systems. The Michigan Department of Education uses a few different systems to approve applications, process payments, and conduct agency reviews. As partners in TFAP and/or CSFP, your agency is required to access these systems to take part in programs. There are two pieces of information that must be established to access all three systems. They are the agency information found in the Education Entity Master, also known as EEM, and a number assigned by the Michigan Education Information System, also known as MEIS. Both pieces of information must be created and regularly updated to reflect current users and agency information. The Education Entity Master is the main database where all important agency information is stored and made available to be pulled into other MDE systems. The link for EEM is www.michigan.gov/EEM. To update your agency information in EEM, please contact CEPI Customer Support at 517-335-0505, extension 3, or by email at cepi@michigan.gov. Your Michigan Education Information System number establishes a login and password for agency staff who need to access any of the three State of Michigan data systems as part of their assigned work. All three of these systems, known as MEGS Plus, MIND, and GEMS MARS, are accessed through your assigned MEIS number. Once your MEIS number is created, you will still need to apply for access separately for each system. The link for MEIS is www.michigan.gov/MEIS. Michigan Electronic Grant System, MEGS Plus. The Michigan Department of Education uses the Michigan Electronic Grant System, also known as MEGS Plus, to collect and approve annual program applications. These applications are the agreements that allow your agency to take part in TFAP and/or CSFP. Agencies must submit their MEGS Plus application every year to maintain their agreement to distribute USDA foods. MDE certifies agency applications that meet program requirements and creates agreements that allow agencies to distribute USDA foods through either CSFP or TFAP. Each agency has authorized users that have proper access to complete and submit the application. Your MEIS login and password are used to log into MEGS Plus. Prior to submitting the application, your authorized agency staff will need to have ready the information as described by MDE and USDA guidance. EPLS memo, IRS memo, outreach plan, nutrition education plan for CSFP only, distribution site listing. The Michigan Nutrition Data System, MIND. The Michigan Nutrition Data System, also known as MIND, is a secure MDE website where monthly expenses related to TFAP and/or CSFP are entered by authorized agency staff and then approved by MDE to release funds that reimburse agencies for allowed program expenses. 2 system users are allowed per agency. They are given access to MIND so that they can enter administrative costs and descriptions of expenses. These system users are designated in the MEGS Plus application. If you are assigned the responsibility of entering program costs for reimbursement for your agency, you will be given access to the MIND system. Your MEIS login and password are used to access the MIND system. There are 9 allowable administrative expenditures for TFAP and CSFP. They are advertising, building rental and utilities, accounting, equipment, insurance expenses, compensation for personnel, transportation, training and education, travel. The Grant Electronic Management System, Michigan Administrative Review System, GEMS MARS. The Grant Electronic Management System, Michigan Administrative Review System, also known as GEMS MARS, is the system MDE uses for the agency review process. USDA regulations require that agencies are reviewed on a regular basis. MDE is responsible to make sure that agencies follow USDA regulations and state guidance as they provide CSFP and TFAP to participants. CSFP agencies are reviewed by MDE every 2 years. TFAP agencies are reviewed by MDE at least every 4 years, sometimes sooner, especially if the agency participates in both programs. Agencies submit electronic copies of many forms of documentation into GEMS-Mars as part of the agency review prior to the on-site visit. These materials are kept on file and accessible to both MDE and the agency for future use. Any necessary corrective action, including a corrective action plan and proof of correction of review findings, are uploaded into GEMS-Mars by the agency after the review. Agencies will receive automatic notifications generated by the system throughout the review process, from scheduling visits to the final notification that the review process is complete. Your MEIS login and password are used to access GEMS-Mars.